Hello again and welcome to Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds, with a particular focus on the exhibition style budgerigar. Don't worry, the fife in the background doesn't mean we've got another fife episode. In this episode we will focus on the budgerigars and particularly on the breeding pairs of budgerigars. We're going to do a complete update on the breeding cages, including the good news around eggs that are hatching and the bad news around eggs that aren't hatching, I suppose. So that's what we will focus on in this episode. I just thought I'd mention before we start, I'm now starting to get the fifes out of the main shed. At the beginning of the day when I go in there to feed them, I'll take one of them out, pop them in the show cage, bring him in here, and he can then get used to being in a slightly different environment with the sound of other birds and with me generally moving around and clearing up. And I don't know if you can see it from behind me, but I've also put a small washer hanging from the centre of the cage. This was something that I think it was Graham Davies mentioned that he does, and this just encourages the fife to lift its head up and try to peck at the washer and get a slightly better position. So that's it for the fifes. As I say, we're not going to focus any more on them. I know the last episode was completely fifes. So we will move on to looking at the breeding cages, and also there will be a short video of the Swindon Members Society Members Show. As always, if you enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button. Please do comment. Thanks for those people who commented on the last video and on previous videos. And of course, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, then please do hit the subscribe button for any notifications. Then click on the bell icon. Right then, let's get on with it. As always, or as is customary, we'll start with cage 1 over there, and we'll move around each of them and talk a little bit about how each of the cages are getting on. So starting off then with the pair in cage 1, which is the light green dominant pied. This is the bird we got from Mr. Terry Sadler, and we crossed that to a light green cinnamon hen. This is the hen that produced a couple of nice green hens with the cobalt last breeding season. For those of you that watched the episode before last, where we did a rounding up again of the breeding cages, will know that this pair had produced a number of full eggs. I'm pleased to say she laid a total of 8 eggs in all, and 7 of those were full. And interestingly enough, what surprised me anyway, was that it was egg number 5 that wasn't full. So she'd got halfway through and the cockbird had failed to fill one of the eggs in the middle. Egg 6 is full, and I believe egg 7 and 8 are also full, or they look like it to me. So where are we now with this particular pair? So as I say, 8 eggs in total. The first 2 of those chicks, or those eggs, have hatched, and I'm pleased to say you can see them here. Both of them are being fed by the hen. This hen was brilliant last season. I think she raised 3 rounds, and almost all of those rounds there were 4 or 5 chicks, I believe, in each of those rounds, and she fed and was very dutiful, excellent mother, this particular hen. Now I've said that, you watch, she'll stop feeding them for some reason. But anyway, last year she was an excellent mother, and it looks like she's going to be the same this year. So like I say, the first 2 have hatched. So what are my plans then for this? Because clearly if the other 7 all hatch, that's a lot of chicks for this pair to bring up. And of course the other problem is that by the time chicks 6, 7 and 8 hatch, the first chicks will be well into development and will be much bigger, and there is that risk, always is a risk, that those younger ones will either be missed by the hen or will just get squashed because of the much bigger birds in there. So what am I going to do? Well, the pair in cage 4, which is directly below this, have all clear eggs. We'll come on to that when I talk about that pair. So I think what I'm going to do is, if the first 4 of these hatch out okay, is the last 3 eggs I'm going to move from this nest box and place them into the nest box below. So they're about due at the similar time to the eggs in there, so there shouldn't be a problem with that. I know some people would rather move chicks than eggs. My own experience is that I don't find a particular problem moving the eggs, particularly even when they're, you know, getting to that stage where they're developed and about to hatch. I know some people would like to just move the chicks, or else move the eggs early on. Like I say, I've never really had a problem, but who knows. Anyway, my plan is to move the last 3 eggs if all 4 of the first eggs of those hatch and are all fed, into cage number 4, and I'll let that hen raise those youngsters. So that's pair 1. Really good news. You know, I said I wasn't sure if I was going to get anything off of this cockbird because he's quite an old cockbird, but so far doing splendidly. I will let them go for 1 more round, and then I think my plan then will be to split this pair and give him 1 more go with a different hen later on, after he's had a bit of a rest back in the main flight. So that's pair 1, successful in pair 1. What about pair 2? So having had the success in cage 1 with the first of the Terry Sadler bird, or the birds that we got off of Terry Sadler, what about the second bird we got off of Terry Sadler that was in cage 2? This was the Lutino cockbird that we paired to an opaline cinnamon light green. Now, those of you that have been watching how the breeding's been going from the start will know that this pair, first of all, took a little while to bond, and the second problem we had was that the hen was, I think I referred to it as a bit of a fiddler. So she, whenever she was in the nest box, she played around with everything that was in there. So she was constantly clearing the nest box out, and then when she started to lay, she started playing around with the eggs, broke them, and so we lost the first 2 eggs, I think it was, from in this particular cage. We did the trick with the marble, and if you haven't heard me talk about that before, just go back to the last breeding update where I speak about it. But we did the trick with the marble. Again, she didn't like that marble being in there either, and at one stage she even managed, I don't know how, but she even managed to get the marble out of the nest box. But we persevered, put it back in. Eventually she laid another egg, and at this point she settled down and began to sit. She's now laid another, let me just double check. Yep, so she's now up to having laid 6 eggs in total. There are 5 that you can see in the nest box because the others got damaged. They have bonded now, and whenever the hen's out, there is mutual feeding and mutual preening going on between the 2 birds. I've not seen any mating with this pair as of yet. The eggs, however, they look, or certainly the latter eggs look viable. They are, you can see it from the pictures here, they are got that, don't know, life sort of look about them, that they're nice and clean, and they haven't turned that really glossy pearly colour yet, but they do look like they are, you know, there's no obvious sign that they're not full. The second egg, so the first egg, so the first of the eggs, so egg number 2 as it's marked in here, but the first of the eggs since she's stopped breaking them, is clear. I checked that one today actually. Haven't checked the others, but I'm hopeful. and it may be just hope, but I am hopeful that the cockbird in here may have filled some of the latter eggs. If he hasn't, then I am almost certainly going to give this pair another go, because they are, there is, they are mutually compatible now. So the cock and the hen are doing showing all the right signs that they will, or may be more successful in the second round. If the cock was showing no interest in the hen, then I would almost certainly split them. But anyway, there we are with pair number 2. Not as successful as pair number 1, but we may be getting there with this pair. The other thing I didn't mention it, I mentioned it before, the hen is a maiden hen as well, so we've not bred off this hen before. She was a late bred 2022 bird, so was a bit young last year. Anyway, there we are with pair number 2. How are we getting on then with pair number 3? So moving on to pair 3, this is another of the outcross birds actually. This is the opaline cinnamon sky blue cockbird that we got off of Mr. Rick Watts a little while ago. It's probably, that's last year of breeding, I would expect. So again, like the other two, we put this bird in early just to try and get a couple of rounds off it. You may remember that this bird, the last time we looked at, we didn't think it would have, or that the eggs looked like they were going to be clear. Well, I'm pleased to say actually that we've literally just candled egg number 5, I think it is. Yep, just double check. Yep, egg number 5. And that egg is full. So the cockbird has managed to fill at least one of the eggs. You can see the eggs here, and I've pointed out the one that is full, so you can see, it shows very, very clearly the difference, the shininess of the shell, that pearly colour of the shell. So, so at least we will have got at least one off of this pair in this first round. The question is, do I leave the egg in there, or do I move it to make up one of the other nests? We'll have to wait and see how the other pairs would go. If I've only got one, one or two in one of the other nests, then maybe I will move this egg just to build up the numbers. I think most people would agree that if they've only got one chick in the nest, the tendency is for the hen not to look after it as well. I hope that's the right word I'm looking for. They lose interest if there's only one chick, so they tend not to be fed as well as if there were, 4 chicks in there. So that's just, I think, my view. A number of other people's view. Others will maybe have a different view. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why we like to build the nest up to 3 or 4 chicks in a particular nest. So that is pair 5. Another, success story. Another pair where we've got at least one full egg in the nest. So let's move on then and talk about pair 4. So moving on then and back to this side of the shed to talk about pair number 4. As we mentioned when we were talking about the pair above them, pair number 1, this pair has so far only produced clear eggs, and this is the cobalt cockbird that actually bred really, really well for me last year with the hen, the hen that's above it in cage number 1. So I know the cockbird can fill eggs. The hen that we put it to was a opaline cinnamon yellow face grey. This pair, those of you who watched a few episodes before this pair went down very, very quickly, and I'm not sure whether they had actually fully bonded before the hen started to lay. So that may be the problem as to why the cockbird hasn't filled eggs this time round. But it may also be that either the hen or the cockbird is slightly out of sorts. They both look okay to me, so I don't know. Anyway, as I said when we were talking about the pair number 1, what my plan is, I'm at the moment gradually removing the eggs, as you may see from the short clip of the eggs on the screen. So I am gradually removing the eggs, and about I tend to remove eggs that are clear about 2 days after their due hatch date. Not because I'm worried that they might be full, because I still check them anyway, you know, that I know there's nothing in them, but just because I like to give the hen a good chance to sit on the eggs and to get used to them gradually being removed. Anyway, so that's just why I do it. It's about a couple of days after the due date of the egg. I will just remove them and chuck them away. With this one though, what I will do when we get down to the last, you know, 3 or 4 eggs, is I'll start to move eggs from cage number 1 into here. Now I know, and I said this when I was talking about the pairs in, or the pairing cage one, about removing eggs. I know some people advise not removing them at this late stage. Partly there's some view that the hens may have a slightly different temperature and this may upset the eggs, or that the hen is aware that when she suddenly starts hearing the chirping coming from inside the egg, so we know that the chicks will caw whilst they're still inside the egg as they're getting, you know, as they're developing, as they're in the end stage of development. This may upset the hen, and that may again cause the eggs to become non-viable at this late stage. I myself have never had that problem. If I've moved an egg at this late stage and popped them underneath another hen, I've never had a problem with it. But that's not to say that you won't. So, you know, look around, read books, read articles about the moving of eggs from one place to another. If in doubt, then you can always move the chick after it is hatched. If you're going to do that, if you're going to move the chick after it's hatched, my suggestion is place it in the nest box when it's a couple of days old, when you know it's been fed by the previous mother, and also when it's strong enough to call, and it's the calling of the youngster that encourages the mum to feed. So, you know, if you've got a youngster that is calling loudly, not a weak foot, or a bird that's just hatched out which has got a slightly quieter call, a bird that's calling, you know, after 2 or 3 days of growing, calling really loudly, it will encourage the hen to feed. Of course, in this case, you know, if I was to do that in this case, I would risk losing those late hatches in cage 1 just because of the difference in size. What I could of course do is move some of the birds, the youngsters that have already hatched from there, into cage number 4, and then let the hen in there bring up the later hatched birds. But that's not my plan. As I say, my plan is to move the eggs rather than the chicks. Anyway, enough about that. I hope that all made sense. If not, give me a shout in the comments, and I will perhaps talk a little bit more about moving eggs and moving chicks in a future video, and just in terms of the way I do it. We all do it slightly differently, and you need to find that's the way I do it in my shed. You need to find a way that works for you. Anyway, that's cage 4. Will I let these go around after these have hatched? I'm in an hour at the moment. I don't know. If I don't, I will probably try this cockbird and this hen with another partner. There is, in the main flight, there was a pair in there, a light green cockbird who I've seen feeding and mating with a cinnamon hen. They're both this year's birds. I'm not sure if they're related, so I'll need to check. When I say this year, they're 2023 rung birds. They may still be a little bit young, so I need to double check that as well. But if they continue to show those signs, then I might get them out and just have a look at compatibility. So that's cage 4. What about cage number 5? Well, after the disappointment in cage 4, I'm pleased to say cage number 5, or pair number 5, have been absolutely brilliant for me. You may remember this is a a light green cockbird that we paired to a dark green hen. This was a love pairing that we saw in the flight, and we pulled them out, looked at their compatibility, thought it was okay, or I thought the compatibility was okay, popped them in the cage, and almost immediately the hen and the cockbird started to mate. Hen went down very quickly, and we ended up with 6 eggs, I believe it was. You can see them here. All of those eggs are full. I was expecting, based on the dates, for the first egg to hatch today. It hasn't hatched. You can see the eggs here. They're, the one that is slightly grayer than the others is the one that's due to hatch. That's not unusual. I sometimes find that the eggs go a different colour just as they're about to hatch. I think what happens, and I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but the egg outer shell starts to dry out to enable the chick to be able to hatch out a little bit easier. And of course, although I've got the date that it's due to hatch is being today, sometimes the hen won't sit tight on the first egg until she's laid the second one. So quite often there can be a slight delay on that very first egg, and I'm hoping, touch wood, I'm hoping that that's going to be the case for this particular pair. But either way, you know, the rest of the eggs are full, so I'm hoping that we will get some chicks off of this particular pair. Paired really well for me, or doing really well for me, pair number 5. So like I say, 6 full eggs. Any minute now we should get our first chicks, and once we get our first chicks, the next, of course, big hurdle is getting this hen to feed them. So there we go, that is pair 5. Another, at the moment, I would say another success story for my breeding cages. So that's pair number 5. Let's now move on to the final pair that we put down, pair number 6. So moving on then to pair 6 and the final pair, you may remember that this pair was the last pair that we put down, so it's a little bit behind all the others, not too far behind the pair 5 that's doing really well, as we just saw, but it's about a week behind them. But in terms of time scale of how long they've been down, but in terms of where they are in the overall breeding cycle, they did appear to be quite a long way behind. You may remember in the last episode, or before I do that, I better just mention what they are. So we've got a grey-green cinnamon cockbird, which is from that the grey family, and it's a cockbird that I quite like the look of. And we've paired that to the opaline cobalt that we got from Bob McCabe, so it's quite an oldish hen now. Anyway, so you may remember that I did say that the hen, or the pair didn't seem to have bonded particularly well. And then in the last episode, I think I gave a very quick update on this pair, where I said that it did look as if the hen was getting ready to lay, because I was starting to see those bigger poos, and the hen was in the nest box, we'd cleared it out and spending a lot of time in there. I then began to get a little bit worried because there was still no sign of eggs. And I was beginning to wonder whether perhaps she just wasn't going to lay, whether she had got a little bit too old. In the last time we bred with her, in the last breeding season, I think she only had a couple of full eggs, 3 or 4 perhaps at the most, and we only got 2 chicks off her. Both were actually quite nice birds. But I was beginning to wonder whether she was a little bit old, or whether perhaps the cockbird was going into the nest box and destroying the eggs. So I had a little bit of a wonder about that, and thinking about it. I was thinking about whether I ought to put a marble in there just to find out, but actually she then started laying, and there wasn't any problem with her sitting on them, so clearly it was just a delay in getting her to lay. She's now laid 2 eggs in total. You can see those here. I haven't candled either of them yet, so we will just have to wait and see. Cockbird interested in the hen interested in the cockbird now, so there's lots of you know, the normal signs that they're getting on really well. Cockbird feeding the hen, hen is preening the cockbird. So whether or not we're going to get anything, I don't know, but you know, we're hopeful. We've got eggs now, that's the first hurdle. We've just got to check in a couple of days, or about 4 days, whether any of those eggs are full. So there we are, that's a full roundup of all of the breeding cages. Overall, I'm actually very, very pleased. You know, out of the 6 cages that we've got, all 6 have got eggs, and 4 of the cages we reckon have got full eggs, or look as if they're going to have full eggs. 3 definitely, 1 maybe, and this last pair, you know, touch wood, we might get a couple of full eggs off of that last pair as well. So I'm actually really, really pleased with the way that breeding season's gone. In the last episode I did say that we went out to the Swindon Budgerigar Society Members Show, and I said I'd get some film for that. So what we'll do now is we'll take a quick look at that, and then we'll come back and talk about other things that are going on in the shed at the moment.
much to Rod for judging.
Really enjoyed it.
Wow, brilliant. Do it next year.
Thank you very much for coming and bringing birds along. And thank you to ladies for tea and coffee and cakes, everything as usual. And Terry does have, there is a bag of seed for Best in Show, which Vanessa kindly donated. That's for Best Young Bird, owner bred. Right. Champion any age is Bob McKay.
Hang on, you'll give them down like a ferret.
Hold on.
Down like a ferret, yeah.
Best,
There we go, yeah.
Best Champion Young Bird, Bob McKay.
Well,
Best Intermediate any age is Tom Jackson. Best Intermediate Young Bird, Tom Jackson. Best Novice any age is Grandpa.
There's the camera. Thank you.
And he's also Best Novice Young Bird, Grandpa. Then, Best any age, Bob McKay. Best Young Bird, Bob McKay.
Best in Show, Bob McKay.
And Best in Show, Bob McKay.
I hope you enjoyed that quick look at the Swindon Budgerigar Society Members Show. Good number of birds there. I think there were over 60 birds on show for the judge to look at, and some really nice quality birds there as well. So it was a great turnout by members, and I think you'll agree that the light green by Bob McKay was a very, very worthy winner. What a really stunning bird that was. Very long, nice long body, and you know, it was very much in proportion, the whole bird. So well done, Bob, for producing that. There was another light green there that was also very nice, and there were a number of other birds, you know, that we saw there that were you know, on another day might well have taken it. So well done to everybody who put the birds out. So that's our member show. I did say I'd have a quick talk about what else has been going on in the shed. We saw at the beginning, I've got some of the canaries down in the in the showcase now, getting those ready. I posted a little while earlier on in the week a short video clip of one of the birds in the care, and thanks to Graham Davis, who commented and said I had washer a little bit too low. The bird was having to duck underneath it rather than reach up for it. So I've made that amendment now, so in the future times I'll have that it's higher, so the bird's got to reach up for it, encouraging the bird to stand more upright on the perch. I think is the idea behind that. The other thing, of course, I will be doing is making sure that I'm ready for not next week, I think it's the week after, where we've got firework night. And of course starting to get a few budgerigars out to start preparing them for the Oxford 1910 show, which will probably be my last show, although I may get up to High Wycombe, their annual show as well, which I think is the beginning of December. I had somebody ask me if I do some videos on how to use ZooEasy, which is the database that I use. I will start to produce those when I've got a bit of time. I'm a bit tied down at the moment with the members show stuff, the information coming in, but I will start to try and do some videos on the ZooEasy database that I use. I will probably put those out as midweek videos, so they'll just go out as a midweek special, so I won't promote them across the rest of Facebook. So if you want to watch those, then do subscribe to the channel. I'll run through how I use it and the basic features and what it can and what it can't do, I suppose. So that will be coming up probably the middle of December I expect to get a couple out. It probably will be 2 or 3 videos, I would think. I'd keep them quite short, so perhaps 2 10-minute videos covering that. The other thing, we've got some birds, you know, some youngsters in there. I will very, very quickly in one of the future episodes run through ringing birds. I did do a long episode on why we ring birds, and I'll put a link across the top of the screen now to that episode if you want to look at that. But I will do a quick video of me of how I ring my youngsters. I think I was very optimistic about getting 2024 rings on there, considering I'm not going to get those until first week in December, and I'm going to be ringing some of these early birds within the next week, or you know, probably some next week, or maybe the latest the week after. So I suspect most of those early birds will have 2023 rings on them. I was very optimistic about 24 rings. So that's what's really going on in the shed at the moment. And that's just about all we've got time for in this episode. As always, if you do enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button. Do of course continue to comment, and as I always say, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. But until the next video, as always, stay safe and enjoy your birds.